Rockets. Hello and welcome to episode 46 of Two Man Game with Damon and Dom. I'm Damon, that's Dom, and you are the listener. Before we get into it today, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. If you're on Spotify, please leave 5 stars, download the episodes, and on either platform, make sure you share. If you want, we can send you a flyer of our logo. You can make little paper airplanes and throw them at people. Yeah, then they unfold it, and it's like, oh, look, podcast. I don't know, maybe that's a way to spread it. Episode 46, actually one of the first episodes, maybe the first episode we're ever going to pre-record here for Dom's trip to Lithuania, his home country. Well, not his home country, but his family's home country, later this month. So we want to go ahead and get this episode out of the way so we have something to release when he's in Lithuania, so he doesn't have to worry about the podcast. And this is when we'll finally talk about our favorite moments of the season. But before we get into that, episode 46, we can combine Michael Jordan and LeBron James number 46, the two GOATs. That's no one wears 46. So, um, yeah, anyways, Dom, how do you think future you is doing over there in Lithuania?
Before I answer that, I actually have a 4-6 too. In the same vein, I'm also gonna shout out the GOAT Alex Caruso, number 4 on the Lakers, number 6 on the Bulls.
That's a good
So
one. That's a good one. What number
and
would he be on the Thunder?
I isn't 4 and 6 are open, I think. But no, 6 is
Beats me.
taken. 6 is Jalen Williams. The
Not
other
J-Dub.
one,
Yeah.
yeah, Jay Will, and then I think 4 was Darren Collison. If it's not retired, it is retired,
Aaron
isn't it?
Collison. It's Nick Collison.
That's
Darren
what I said.
Collison's a
Nick.
completely different
I
player.
said Nick
You're
Collison. I
right. It,
said Nick
it is it
Collison.
is retired.
Yeah,
I
so
know he
maybe
used
he'll
to be number
be
25. He used to be on the Thunder in the
maybe
very beginning of his career.
yeah, maybe he'll be 25 again.
That, that'll look weird.
But it's so funny by the time this comes out, he will have a number chosen.
Yeah.
So we're just speculating. But anyways, I'm good. I think I'm gonna be good in Lithuania. I'm gonna be hanging out with my dad, so that'll be a lot of fun. And how do you think you're gonna be doing into July, early August?
Into July, I'm gonna I'm gonna be doing pretty good, I think. I'm trying to think if there's anything going on around then. I don't think so. I think I'll just be here, doing my
Enjoying the heat?
thing, playing
Yeah,
lots of more basketball by then. My game will be down pat.
I love that. And what are you wearing? You're wearing the Dunkster knot?
I'm wearing the Dunkshot because we're going over our favorite moments of this season and this postseason, and this is maybe my favorite Rockets jersey of all time. The Dunkshot jersey is really good. The theme, the city jersey, in terms of city jerseys at least, it's definitely better than the crooked old school 90s navy with the lines that don't line up.
It
Uh,
was so easy just to make them not jagged, and then
yeah,
it would have been like up there with this one. But they were
yeah,
like, no, let's glitch it out. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Thank you,
yeah.
though.
I don't love it, but what do you got going on today in your wardrobe?
Uh, so I'm wearing my friend's band's shirt all along, just because. But I got a Chicago Bulls hat. It says Windy City. It's got Chicago on the side for I got to represent Matas Buzelis now since he is a Bull and Lithuanian, and
Bulls
I'll be in
legend.
Lithuania, so I thought it kind of made sense. And yeah, I do love the Dunkster knot though. I will wear that at some point. Maybe before this comes out, I will have worn it. We'll find out.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know what I'm really excited for? Talking about our favorite moments, because we talked about this just a little bit before we started potting. And I
Hmm.
was like, yeah, I have like single lines of what I'm talking about. And you're like, yeah, I got like 2.5, 3 pages worth of notes. So I'm very excited to dig in
I
and
just
see
I really want to set the stage with the context for the listener, in case they're not
for
familiar with
sure.
these moments.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna do my best too, but you know what? I didn't make paragraph notes, so I'm just gonna kind of wing it. Hopefully, it'll
Yeah,
go well. I'm the casual NBA viewer, except I'm not, because I know almost all the teams and all the players and stuff.
right.
So, you know,
Yeah, I would say neither of us are casual anymore.
yeah,
I
we're
definitely like
serious.
read into a lot of things, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I was telling you before the pod, it's one thing I love about you. You're very tedious, and like when you put your mind into something, you have to do it 100% all in. You're not just gonna like half-ass it. So
Yeah, and it's like, it's not
You
like
love you love it, dude.
it's just like it's I have to, it's just, I have to feeling. I don't even know how to
Yeah.
describe it. It's like, okay, I have to
Yeah,
do this way.
yeah, that's you. And it's one of the things that's one of the things why you're
That's how we
I
do
respect.
everything.
Yeah, I respect that. But I say let's just dive in. I say
Let's dive
let's
in. Let's
let's
dive
do
in.
it.
Yeah, let's
Um,
lay the groundwork here a little bit. We're gonna do regular
for sure.
season and then playoffs. So
Mhm.
we're gonna do 10 each. We've each come with 10 moments from the regular season, 10 moments from the postseason that we are gonna give back and forth to each other. I imagine it'll go kind of like a snake where I give, somebody gives 10 and then that person does 10-9 and the next person does 9-8, so on and so forth. And if there is overlap, we're not going to announce it right away. We're going to wait until that person, if my number 10 is Dom's number 4, he'll say it when we get to number 4, rather than just throwing it all out there at the same time. So we'll both present 20 total moments, 40 total moments for this episode. And yeah, and we'll kind of talk about what they were, why we loved them, and all that. So let's get started. You want to kick us off with your 10th top 10 moment of the we're going reverse, I assume, right? Up to one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely in reverse. I actually have two honorable mentions. I would
Okay.
feel remiss not at least
I
mentioning these
cut a lot off
moments.
this list, so
Yeah, and I cut off a lot as well, but these two I was like I really I these two players should be shouted out because it doesn't really come up later. So just for one of the honorable mentions, I needed a Wimby play because some
okay.
some Wimby had some crazy plays
Yeah,
this
yeah.
season, and the craziest one was Wimby had a double block against your Rockets. Sorry,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah.
it was crazy. It was the ball was stolen. Jabari Smith Jr. went for a
Oh,
dunk. Wimby blocked it. He went out of bounds. Jabari got the rebound, went back up. He came back in and blocked it, and then started running back
yeah.
in transition.
I know
So
I know exactly what player you're talking about.
yeah, so I just want to shout that out because Wimby was Rookie of the Year, and he's gonna be a great player to come. And I thought that was a perfect moment to kind of showcase the kind of player he is. Doesn't give up on a play, and got two blocks, defensive monster.
Yeah.
And then my other moment, just because this is like a moment for the NBA, not really for a team or and it's about a player, is LeBron breaking 40,000 points.
Yeah.
Because to me, it was very cool moment, and I was very happy for him. You could tell he was very emotional about that, but it's not like it was pertaining to winning a game or it wasn't, it's a thing that'll be talked about, but it's not, there weren't stakes. Like he was gonna get to 40,000 points.
Hmm.
So that's why I just had it as a honorable mention, but it should
Yeah,
be.
I thought about having the LeBron one. I opted not to because I thought if this were last season and he surpassed Kareem, that would, be like way, way up on the list. But 40,000 is like, yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
he's
It's like
already at
it
the
wasn't.
top.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It didn't have
It's
as much
like
impact to me.
he didn't break a record. That's just he's just every time he scores a point now it's a record.
Right,
So
right.
it's like I'm not gonna put every shot he makes on my list. But those are my honorable mentions.
Okay.
Number
Um,
10, or you want to go first? You want to do honorable
I was
mentions?
gonna say there's a couple things I don't have them written
Yeah,
down, but there's a couple things that I can think of. I really wanted to include a rocket moment. I
yeah,
don't have any rocket moments on my actual list. And that's really because Jalen Green, the second half of the season when he kind of took off, it was doing it like blowing out the Wizards and the Trailblazers. And I was like, these are cool plays, but none of them matter. So I think it was when against the Wizards, he like crossed a guy over and took like a step back three and looked at the guy and looked away before the ball even went in. It was like an awesome play and the arena erupted. And I was like, and we're up 27. All right, cool.
it was.
Like
Yeah, that was
who
also at the end of
cares?
the. Yeah, that was also at the end of the game. Like you're
Yeah,
already up, and it was like 2 minutes left of the game. Like I
right.
remember, I that highlight did come up, and I was looking for it.
Yeah, so
Um,
I can
yeah.
shout that out.
For sure. He
Trying to
had a
think.
few. There's a flying dunk too, Jalen Green had
Oh,
that was
yeah, he has a
really
couple of
good.
dunks. Oh, there was
Yeah.
one. It was against the Spurs actually. I think. Yeah. When Şengün, like, I don't know. I think he stripped Wimby when he was trying to penetrate, and then they went in fast break. Fred VanVleet threw it up to Şengün at the top of the paint, and he threw a behind the back pass to Cam Whitmore for like an open dunk, and it was like a really cool play. But again, it was like, oh, it didn't really matter that much.
Yeah.
I also watched James Harden hit like 5 step back threes in a row against the Pacers, but they were up by like 30 points in the fourth quarter, so it didn't matter. So there were just a lot of
But
moments I watched and I was like, but this didn't actually matter. So
yeah, I started a list as well, and then I whittled it down to like what mattered and what stuck with me, right? Because like
yeah,
these are like Wemby doing the double block I forgot about, but it's really it was a really good play,
yeah,
right? And then LeBron breaking 40,000, I don't think about. It was cool it happened, but I don't think about it all the time. So these other plays though, I definitely loved watching. This is something that when it happened, like you and I would share it and stuff. So I kind of went off of that. So my number 10.
yeah.
So my number 10 moment, one of our favorite players, one of your favorite players, Tyrese Halliburton.
Okay.
You might know this one. Is when he dropped Asar Thompson and then he sunk a three and he
Mm,
started skipping back.
yes, yes, yeah.
It kind of was like the first
That's
kind
the
of
thing that's on my
skipping.
shirt. Yeah,
Yeah, so that was just such a cool play, and Asar Thompson's one of the best young defenders. So Tyrese Halliburton dropping him and then making a three and doing the skipping is definitely a moment that stuck with me. And now he does the skipping thing, so
right.
it's
Part of his deal
I
now.
kind of like a playful atmosphere, which I love. So that's why I put it as number 10 for me.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good pick. I definitely thought about it when I went back, and that was one of the things I saw. Um, my number 10 is not really a moment.
Okay.
I guess it is a moment. I'll say December 30th is the moment. Okay. But what's really important is the 2 months leading up to it, from October 28th to December 29th. The Detroit Pistons losing 28 consecutive games, the longest single season losing streak in NBA history. They started the season 2-1, and then they went to 2-29 after
Dude,
that streak.
I love that it is your 10th best moment of the season was the fact that they had a 28 game losing streak. Is December 30th the day they lost the
That's the
28th
day they
game?
won. Yeah, that's the day they won.
Oh, the day they won.
So yeah, they in this game where Kevin Knox, by the way, started at small forward, and Isaiah Livers and Killian Hayes both played a lot of minutes off the bench. They managed to edge out a 2-point victory against the Raptors, who had just traded OG Anunoby. So they were missing a key part of their lineup and hadn't received Emmanuel Quickly and RJ Barrett yet. Um, and it was so funny. I was watching the end of this game earlier today, and they were actually up five, and the Raptors really did not want to lose. They like came down and hit a three with like 5 seconds left, and then they were like all hustling on the inbound, like trying to prevent the inbound, but eventually they threw it in, and the game was over. And the crowd went crazy. Like the crowd erupted. It was in Detroit, so the crowd was like,
Oh,
"How
nice.
do we win?" Yeah. So from 2-21 to 3-29 after that 2 month period, the Detroit
It's the little
Pistons.
things.
I mean, it's a like it's a great thing for me as a viewer. Like, yeah, it's not great for the NBA, but it was fun to witness that.
Yeah, absolutely. I also, since we're talking about the Pistons, I know I want you to do your number 9, but since like moments and just since we mentioned the Pistons, I think it would be a disservice to Malachi Flynn if we didn't shout out his 50-point game.
Fair.
So I just want to shout out
Spoiled my
him. And
number
then
one moment, but
yeah, I figured. And then my favorite moment is when he scored 50 one night and then the next game he scored 0.
it's
That's
like
my
0 for
favorite moment.
12.
Yeah. Shout out Malachi Flynn. You're our hero. You're a hero to us. But what's your number 9?
My number 9, okay. Let me lay the ground here. This is an actual moment.
Okay.
The Wolves are down by 1 to the Utah Jazz. 5 minutes and 30 seconds left in the third quarter. Anthony Edwards throws the ball up in transition to Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who gives it right back to him. And he skies high in the air for the slam over John Collins, in which he injures his wrist, and John Collins has to leave with a head contusion. And then the NBA, of course, famously making the post about this, kind of making John Collins look even worse in that play. The only reason this didn't end up higher on my list is because the context of the game was like Wolves versus Jazz, like kind of a meaningless game almost, for the Jazz at least. And of course, we talked about this before. Didn't actually hit the rim with his hand, or like didn't dunk it properly. Kind of threw it in. But still a great moment. Still, it's on our logo for this podcast, so I had to definitely include this in my top 10.
I obviously love that moment. And I love your number 9 pick. That's perfect. My number 9 is very similar.
Okay.
It's not that moment, but it is a similar moment that you may have later. Again,
Okay.
we're not going to tell each other, but
Yeah.
my number 9 moment, it's Sacramento Kings,
Uh-huh.
Utah Jazz. Uh, Malik Monk gets a no, De'Aaron Fox gets a steal from
Uh-huh.
Chris Dunn. He dribbles it back. Chris Dunn is
Oh
playing
yeah,
good
yeah.
defense. De'Aaron Fox passes it back to Malik Monk. Malik Monk posters on Chris Dunn, comes down, screams in his face, and Chris Dunn like pushes him,
Yep.
and like the whole bench was erupting. I mean, that moment, like I remember watching. I'm not a I'm not a big fan of like posters and gloating and things of that nature. Like I very much just love the game for what it is, but something about that was just so like visceral. There was just so much like emotion in that dunk, and he got so high and just slammed it. And also the Jazz were wearing their like really cool uniform, so I
They
love that
were
as well.
finally.
Yeah. Yeah, anything where they're not wearing the G League ones are good. So I have
Yeah.
that as number 9 because I thought that was just because
It's a
Malik
good
Monk
pick.
is a dunker. He's a great dunker, and
Oh
I
yeah.
think that's best dunk of his career so far for sure.
Yeah, that's a good one. I definitely appreciate that moment. I think we're both Kings fans, more or less. So,
Yeah, I
um,
gotta like the beam shirt. Come on.
your room is lighting the beam currently. So
I know I tried to do it red for the Chicago Bulls, but you couldn't really tell what color it was. This is
there.
the best color that it looks like, so that's why I do purple.
Yeah, I mean it
Um,
kind of matches my little neon blurb back there. So
I know. I know, it looks sick. It's like we're merging, we're like
I
flowing into each other.
I have another Fallout guy that's black and white. Should I also put him in here and just have like little Fallout guys in my background?
Well, I do see him. He's lit up in the back, right?
Yeah, but I have another one. I was like, should I bring my other
Oh,
one right next to him?
perhaps the next time.
Yeah, definitely not right now.
No, let's pause. Let's pause and do it.
Yes, let
So
me hear your number 8 moment.
yeah, okay. Number 8. So number 8 is it's a game winner. So the
Okay.
stakes are a little bit higher.
Yeah.
I'm gonna lay it out. It's toward the end of the season. Denver Nuggets, Golden State Warriors. So it's tied like 124, 124. Uh, there's like 1.7 seconds left.
Yeah.
Aaron Gordon throws it in, or not Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray throws it in. Jokic gets it, just heaves it from half court, and he banks it in. And they
Mm,
win the game at the buzzer. That is my 8th moment of the year. I didn't have it higher because it was a tied game when it went to overtime.
yeah.
In the Nuggets, it was kind of a comeback win for them. They were losing most of this game, and they kind of came back and won with that shot. So, um, yeah, I needed to have a Jokic moment on here, and to me, that was the moment
For
for
sure.
me this year. Yeah,
Yeah. That's a good pick. Um,
yeah. It's number 8.
is it me? Is it my number 8 now?
It's your
Already
number
forgot.
8.
Yeah, I'm going back to the Wolves here for number 8. Up by 2 against the Pacers. 7 seconds left in the game. Anthony Edwards misses a free throw. And the Pacers run out in transition. Aaron Nesmith goes for the game-tying layup, and Anthony Edwards skies in the air and blocks it, hits his head under the backboard, and falls really hard to the ground, but then like springs up and is like screaming for his good defense. No whistles or anything. Clock expires. Wolves win. So the game-saving layup after missing a free throw. Huge play.
Absolutely, it would have tied the game. Love that play. Great pick. At number 8, you got 2 Wolves picks in a row. I
Yeah,
see that. 2 Anthony Edwards in a row.
yeah. A lot of good moments
Uh,
for him.
oh yeah, this I think this was yeah. Well, I'll probably talk about it a little bit later, but a good year for recognition. I think for him, not just because of the them making it to the playoffs, Western Conference Finals, but there's a lot of moments like this.
Yeah.
Um, and now enlighten me on your number 7.
Number 7, I don't have to lay the groundwork too much because it's a moment you already said, actually. It is the Nikola Jokic game winner over the Warriors, over Kevon Looney, basically a logo bank shot three. The celebration after is great. He's screaming, they're screaming. And like you mentioned, it was a big comeback win. They were down big in the fourth quarter and came back and won this game. And the Warriors just looked stunned. And that was just a great moment of the regular season. Um, Yeah, I mean, it was like a jump shot. Like he didn't. It wasn't even like a heave. Like he turned and was just like just raised up and shot it from like 40 feet away, which is crazy.
Yeah, I love that one too, because Jokic doesn't really show a lot of emotion, right? Like he
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
really
yeah,
show like happiness type thing. You know, when he won the championships, like probably the first time I ever saw him like smiling and laughing on a court. So this was a really cool thing to see him make it and then just start yelling and screaming with his teammates in half court. And pretty sure it was in Golden State, right? I'm
yeah.
pretty sure it
It
was
was
a
just
way out.
like it was definitely a deafening moment
Yeah,
there.
that's crazy. That's great. That's a good moment.
Yeah,
All right. So my seventh pick,
your
right? Yeah.
seventh. Yeah, let's hear it.
All right. So another game winner, Milwaukee Bucks, Sacramento Kings.
Hmm.
Our boy, the Dame time arrives in Milwaukee. This is so it's overtime. So I'm laying it. So the game was pretty close,
Is it
very high
overtime?
scoring game. This is overtime. Is It's a high scoring game. In overtime, it's 144 to 142.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
pretty sure.
that sounds like an overtime score.
Yeah. It was in the 140s for sure. Bucks down by two.
Mhm.
Inbound the ball. Damian Lillard inbounds the ball to Brook Lopez. Brook
Yeah.
Lopez gives it right back to Damian
Yep.
Lillard. Kind of goes up the court, makes and this three that he makes at the buzzer is such a like he's like jumping to the side
Yeah.
shooting
Yeah.
it. Like
Yeah.
it's not very like still like stable, and he just runs up, shoots it off to the side, sinks it at the buzzer. He does the Dame time. It's in Milwaukee. Everyone goes crazy, and this is when I remember. This is when everyone was like, finally, Damian Lillard starting to look like himself. Like Dame time's here. Giannis was. Everyone on the Bucks was like, doing the watch thing. So, um, the reason why this one was higher than like the Jokic one is just because it was an OT game,
Mhm.
and it was like they were losing. If he missed it, then it was the Sacramento Kings win. So that's why I have it uh as high as I do. Also, I mean, it's Damian Lillard. It's a classic. It's gonna be on his, at the end of his career, gonna be on that reel, just
Right.
showing like how cold blooded he can be in the clutch. So
Yeah, that was a huge moment. It actually almost made my list. I'll spoil it. It didn't make my list.
yeah.
It was one of my last cuts though,
Hmm.
and I will say one of the reasons I almost had this up there too. Um, if you notice, he like you mentioned, he passed to Brook Lopez. Lopez passes it back. Brook Lopez is kind of behind him at the top of the key, calling for the ball. Um, and Damian Lillard doesn't give it back. He shoots, makes a shot. Brook Lopez goes like shrugs like this and just like walks off to the bench. Like he doesn't celebrate at all. He's like super annoyed he didn't get the ball back. And I think that's really fun.
I didn't notice
Go
that.
back and watch the replay again.
I will.
It's like he's like throwing a temper tantrum because he didn't get the ball. Um, and then I didn't remember if it was this game. I think it wasn't this game. I think it was a different Bucks Kings game. When Mike Brown was ejected and then was in the press conference showing the laptop, the plays, the fouls. If that was this game, this should have made my list because that's like all encompassing. But I think it was a different game.
It was a different game. I
Yeah.
remember. I think there were some injuries on the Bucks side because Campaign was getting a lot of minutes. I remember he was the one that was foul, doing a lot of
Hmm.
like back checks on De'Aaron Fox, and De'Aaron Fox would do it back, and he'd get called for a foul. But that's also a good moment. All that we should. Oh man. Okay.
So many moments. There's so
There's
many.
so many
It was
moments.
hard. It was hard
This
cutting
is
some
a
of
good.
these.
This is a good season.
I
Um,
think this also didn't make my list because I like the Kings more than the Bucks. I know that sounds really silly, but like
yeah.
I like the Nuggets more than the Warriors, so the Jokic thing was cooler to me.
For
Like,
sure.
you know what
It's
I
subjective.
mean?
Like, don't
Yeah.
worry, we're gonna get into subjective stuff later. Like, this is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, um, yeah, so you're totally good. I like that play a lot because it also seemed kind of a broken play because it's supposed to go to Giannis, but they had to like pass it to Brook Lopez instead because he was open. So it was like,
Hmm.
I just it was just a classic Damian Lillard
It's a great
play.
play for sure.
Yeah.
It's a good pick.
So
This
I just did seven. So
is
then
six. It's six for you.
okay, and then
Because I
you're
already
gonna
did
be
my seven.
yeah, and then I'm okay, gotcha. So six is it's a crazy shot. Luca makes his first appearance for me. Um and this is Luca's bank shot to take the lead against the Brooklyn Nets. I don't know if you remember this one. So this was after this is after the
It's the
trade.
one-hander.
It's not the one-hander. It's the when he is double teamed, his back is to the like the ball, his back is to the hoop, and
Hmm.
then it's like time is going down. He literally like spins around, throws it, and it just banks off into the hoop, and they go up 129 to 126 with like 25 seconds left. Because the Nets were fighting back, and it was like it was against Dorian Finney-Smith was on him, so I thought that was also kind of
Are you
fun.
sure it wasn't the one-hander? Because I almost had a moment exactly like that. He gets doubled and he turns like this and just throws it like with one hand.
Maybe it was. I couldn't tell
It
if it was one.
narrowly missed my list too. But
Yeah, I to me it looked like it was two, but it could have been one. Either way, it was insane
it
because he
was a
couldn't even
crazy
like
shot.
see the hoop. Yeah, it was just
Yeah.
like a crazy shot, and it was just a Luca magic type shot that like no one else could make or anything. You know what I mean? So, um, I wanted to have a Luca moment, and that's the one that for me was like definitive for this year
Yeah.
because he had a lot of good shots, and we'll talk
Oh
about
yeah,
more than the playoffs for
for
me at
sure.
least. But yeah, it's my six.
Yeah. My sixth, we're gonna go with the classic here. We're gonna start noticing a little bit of favoritism for me, not for the players, but for comedic value.
Oh, okay.
And that's where this pops up on my list here. Pacers are down 7 against the Bucks. 6.5 minutes left in the game. Tyrese Halliburton crosses over Malik Beasley, who doesn't move at all. And
That
gets
happened this
that happened
season.
this season. It gets right to the bucket. Actually kicks it out, and like a whole possession goes on. It ends up with a Benedict Mathurin and one. Um, but yeah, we use the he looked like his controller died. We use that reference for this. Has to be on my top 10. What a great moment. We bonded over it. We texted it to each other. So
Dude,
good.
I made a GIF out of that and sent it to you.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh my God, that was this season. I mean, obviously it was because Malik Beasley wasn't on the Bucks last year, but
right.
wow, how did that skip my radar? Oh my God, I'm
Long
so glad
season.
you remembered that. God, that was
I
such a
thought for
perfect
sure I was
moment.
making your top 10.
Dude, literally that's I remember I was in Vancouver with my mom and
Hmm.
she was like, I don't know how to smile in pictures. I said, I just think of something funny. Like what I do is I think of Malik Beasley trying to play defense on Tyrese Halliburton and then not moving, and it makes me smile every time. My mom was like, I don't okay. It's like I don't that's not gonna make me smile. But it's definitely something I look back on a lot. It's such a funny moment. I'm so glad you have it.
It's a great moment.
Yeah. What's your number five?
My number five. Okay, this is one that I this is the one I struggled the most with where to rate it. It happened so long ago.
Yeah.
Um, Here's the context. The Spurs are down by 3 against the Suns. There's 9 seconds left in the game. Devin Vassell misses a three, and actually Wemby jumps up and gets a putback dunk. So now they're down one. Josh Okogie inbounds the ball to Kevin Durant. He gets trapped by Trey Jones and Keldon Johnson. Keldon Johnson rips the ball from his hands, dribbles it baseline, and hits a tough layup over Josh Okogie, giving the Spurs the win when they were down 3, 9 seconds to go. A huge, huge steal of a game from the Spurs against the Suns. And I think in when this happened towards the beginning of the season, they beat them like twice, very early on in the season. So I had to have this up here. I thought the ending of this game was crazy, and I don't like a lot of the people on the Suns, so that's why I think this got a little higher on the list for me.
Dude, another moment I totally forgot happened this year. I literally remember that was one of the first games I watched because you could watch NBA on Max this year. Was the
Hmm.
first year, and I remember they had both of those games, Suns Spurs, and they were not one day after another, but it was like one Friday, then one a Sunday. It was like a day in between. And I remember watching like they were down the whole game, like down by like 15, if not more. And then they come back and make that win. And Kevin Durant literally just stands there when he gets the ball ripped. Like
Yeah,
you're not even gonna try to play
he
defense?
like thinks
Oh
there's a
my
foul.
God. Yeah, and it's like, come on, you can't give up on the play. Anyways, that's a great moment. I love that moment.
Yeah, not a game winner per se, but definitely kind of ended up
Okay.
being that because I
Oh,
think
for
there's
sure. I
some
mean,
time left on the clock or whatever. But
yeah, and this I'm pretty sure at this point of the season, the Spurs had a winning record too. Like they were like
yeah,
top six or something. Like they're up there, and they lost a whole bunch, but
yeah,
they were up there for a bit. Um, love that. Okay,
What
so
about what about you? Yeah, let's hear your
my
number
number
five.
five. This is probably my first one. It's not a moment.
Okay,
Kind of like you were like, kind of
the Pistons thing.
compounding. Yeah. So my number five is the it's Lakers Clippers.
Okay.
Clippers are beating the Lakers by 19 going into the fourth quarter. LeBron James takes over this game and they come back and win this game. There's a lot of clutch shots from D'Lo as well. So he literally like LeBron passed it and within like a nanosecond like throws it up and makes it. So it was a team effort, but like just that takeover in at the end of this game to win. And this is for the end of the season. It was a very important game for seeding and things of that nature. Clippers were on a roll. This
Hmm.
is when they were probably on that, not probably, they were on
They
a
were in
win
like the
streak of sorts.
20
They
and
were,
5. Yeah, that kind of
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, they were doing really well. And I mean, also, this is the iconic, well, I do almost every pod,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
LeBron like going crazy with the head thing, the head bobble. So, I had to throw that in here.
Of
And it was
course.
the Lakers. I had to throw a Lakers highlight,
Sure.
in here. And for me, that was just, he's almost 40 and I'm gonna sound like every other podcaster, but he's almost 40 and he's taking over games and really whatever. But it was a team effort. Again, it was like the defense was phenomenal that prevented Clippers from scoring. So just that coming together to beat these hometown rivals, being down 19 was really fun to watch and really cool. A good
Yeah,
moment,
that is good.
especially as a Lakers fan. Yeah.
That is good. The LA versus LA rivalry, where it's always a home game. Even probably an
Always.
Intuit Dome, it'll probably still be a home game for the Lakers, I imagine.
Oh, I have no doubt in my
Yeah.
mind. Absolutely. If tickets are cheaper, I'm definitely going to go there for Lakers games.
What about
Um,
number four? What do you got there?
Number four is earlier I had a moment. It was Jokic. It was the Nuggets versus the Warriors. This moment is Mavericks versus the Nuggets, and
Okay.
it's a moment that I'm sure a lot of people have seen. Um, it's a tied game. Mavericks are down playing in Dallas. Sorry, Mavericks are in Dallas.
Hmm.
Maxi Kleba inbounds the ball. Kyrie Irving goes around two screens. He gets the ball, throws up a lefty kind of like floating shot, sinks it,
Yeah.
wins the game. And this was super again, like so obviously an awesome moment of like him with like the left hand and like I love what I wanted to bring back is remember how you said Brooke Lopez was upset I didn't get the
Hmm.
ball. I loved Luca's reaction. Luca's reaction was just like he was just laughing, like I can't believe he made that. He was just
Yeah.
happy for his teammate. Because obviously, you think that maybe Luca would get the ball in that situation or something, but that's the benefit of having someone like Kyrie on your team.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was just really fun. And it was also a very important game toward the end of the season. Mavericks were fighting not to be in the play-in to
Right.
kind of be up in the top six seeds. And um, Nuggets needed the win. Like they were trying to win. They weren't trying to tank yet. Like the seeding wasn't there yet.
Right.
So that moment is number four for me.
That's a good one. Yeah, I like that. I like that pick for you. My number
What's
four,
your number four?
speaking of Luca, uh, not really a moment per se, but 45 minutes of play. Luka Doncic shoots 25 of 33 from the field, 8 of 13 from three, 15 of 16 from the line to score 73 points, along with 10 rebounds and 7 assists against the Atlanta Hawks to win 148-143. Fourth highest score in NBA history, right behind Kobe Bryant's 81, of course, against the Raptors in '06. I didn't really, there's not really a particular moment from this game. It's just the whole game. He's just killing the Hawks. 148-143 in regulation, by the way. No defense played this
No
game.
defense. Yeah.
So, yeah,
Also, Luca headband, right? I'm pretty
Luka
sure he's wearing the
headband.
headband.
Yeah, he was wearing the
Yeah.
headband. Yes, for percentages, that's 76, 62, 94. That's
50, 40, 90. Definitely in that range.
yeah, a little bit above that actually. So I mean, just a crazy game, one of the best games we've ever seen. I know a lot of people downplay it because it was like, oh, no one was even playing defense, but I mean, to score 73 points in 45 minutes is hard, like regardless of the defensive effort from the opponent. So
Oh, absolutely. I mean, how another moment that totally went over my head. Like, I can't believe that was this season. That was before the All-Star break, I remember, and
Long
everything.
season.
So, yeah, that's an amazing moment. I love that. And about the like people discredit it because no one was playing defense. Well, the thing is, I guarantee you there were players that played that got 0 points. So, you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
just because you're in a game where there's no defense being played doesn't mean there isn't any defense. Like there's defense. Like it's not if there was no defense, then it would be like in the 200s,
Right.
So it was an incredible feat, and he should be very proud. And maybe he'll break it. We'll see. He has a long career ahead of him.
Yeah. Still not even technically in his prime yet. I think that starts when you're like 27 or something. He's like 25 still.
Yeah, he's
Um,
getting there.
yeah.
What about your number three?
Number three, this may be a little high, but again, the comedic value is just too good. Um,
Okay.
the Bulls are down by 9 against the
Oh no, I know this one.
the start of the second quarter.
Oh
Uh,
God.
Andre Drummond pokes the ball away from Bojan Bogdanovic. Torrey Craig gets the ball and starts running in transition. He throws a lob off the backboard to himself, but Drummond thinks it's for him. So they both go for the dunk and they both miss the dunk. And then Billy Donovan is just screaming at them. And literally the very next play, Andre Drummond injures his foot and has to get wheelchair to the locker room and is just out. So just a great moment from this season. Highlight reel blooper moment. And I just love, so entertaining. So I had to put it on here. Andre Drummond's just so goofy.
Dude, I'm crying. Oh, that moment is so funny. If you're listening to this and you haven't seen that, you have to look it up because it is such a like befuddled play. Like there really is no player besides Andre Drummond and Torrey Craig there, and they just literally like collide into each other.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is the most ridiculous thing to happen. Um,
That's my last silly one. And actually, that's not true. I lied. It's not my
okay,
last silly one.
okay. Well, I can't wait to hear your next one, your next few. Um,
Yeah. What about your number three?
My number three is quick.
Okay.
It is one that you already mentioned. To me, it's the Anthony Edwards poster on John Collins
Yeah.
against the Jazz. I do want to touch a little bit on this. To me, I think this is significant. Obviously, great, just a great play, just the athleticism to
Definitely a
do
great
that,
play.
and just like the shot and like the look. It's an image that sticks with you. I think that won like best image of the year or something like fan
Hmm.
voting. But to me, why it was so important and why it's pretty high is because I think after this is when people finally started to say Anthony Edwards is a superstar
Hmm.
because Wolves were had a really good season. They were doing really well, but I think there were still questions about who is the guy. And after that, there was no doubt. No one was doubting that Anthony Edwards is the guy on the Timberwolves. That is the future. He is our superstar. He is going to be a face in the NBA. He's going to be in all the Adidas commercials. Like he wasn't in any of that before this.
Hmm.
So I think that's why it's so important. And he finally just started he was obviously noticed, but like just even noticed even more. So that's why I have it at number three.
Yeah. No, I mean, I probably had it a little low.
No, you're good.
But
No,
it's yeah, I like the
I'm
argument you
biased.
make about the superstar jump.
Yeah,
I think that's
but
pretty good.
yeah.
What about in your second splots?
Okay, number
I combined splot or spot and
and
slot and said splot.
so my second spot, what I got in my
There you
second
go.
spot
Thanks.
is not particularly it's a moment that's incredible, but it's not like number one for me. Like I was looking at a lot of lists and this was number one for a lot of people. Why
Yeah.
it's not number one for me is just because it didn't amount to like anything substantial.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about the Max Strus
Yeah.
behind midcourt game winner against the Mavericks.
Hmm.
So a little pretext before I get into like the game winner itself. So the Maverick. This has been the Mavericks. This was after the trade for PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford. They're like on a 7-0 win streak. Like they're on a win streak at this point.
Hmm.
And they're climbing the standings. And this game was in the bag essentially. But Max Drew said, "I don't think so." He sunk three threes before he made this game winner. So it's 9 points that he made. Um, and there was an incredible play to put the Mavericks up by one. Luca did this crazy pass to PJ Washington, who did a fake and then made a layup. They're up by one. Made like 1.9 seconds left. Max Strus passes it into Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley gives it right back. Max Strus shoots it from it's not a full court shot. So it was basically right behind the midcourt, like right behind the logo on the other side. And in Luca's face.
Yeah.
And he throws it up
Gave
and he
a
makes
good
it.
contest.
A good contest. It was good defense by Luca. And he sinks it nothing but net.
Yeah.
Just a perfect swish. And that's
The
game.
swish is very nice.
Buzzer beater, game over. Breaks the win streak that the Mavericks are on, and kind of gives a boost to the Cavaliers season. And Max Strus was kind of quiet this season. I didn't hear a lot about him, and that was just everywhere when it happened. So again, like that, this moment doesn't amount to anything substantial. The Mavericks still went to the finals. Cavaliers still got out in the second round. So, but for the regular season, like that is Max Strus's career highlight,
right,
for his life. So that's why it's my number two.
Yeah, the number one on the top 100 plays in the NBA regular season video.
Yeah, I saw it on that and a lot of others, and I was like, it's good, it's really good, but I don't. It's not number one for me.
Didn't make my list.
Yeah,
because I just didn't care. I don't know. Like I watched it and I was like, it's
yeah,
like instead of that, I would have put like, and this didn't make my list either. I would have put the Dean Wade 21 points in
literally,
the fourth quarter instead.
literally
Like that's
was on
cooler.
my that literally was on my list, but I removed it because I was
Yeah.
like, that's cooler, but it was like it's Dean Wade.
Yeah, I mean,
Eh.
I don't know, like I can't really explain the logic of why some of these things are so much higher than other things. It's just like I watched that happen and I'm like, all right. Like, it wasn't like something
Yeah,
crazy to me. I
these
don't
are
know.
our top tens. No
Yeah,
one has
our
it's
top 10.
no
It's
one's
our
else's business but ours. It's what we want. It's what we like. So
yeah.
I want to know your number two though.
Let me get into
And
my
your number
number
one.
two. Yeah, yeah,
Come on,
yeah.
come on, come on.
My number two, something that has been mentioned already. The Mavs and Nuggets tied with 3 seconds left to go. The Kyrie left-handed floater over Jokic. You mentioned Luka's reaction. I want to talk about Jokic's reaction. He smiles. He smiles at the Kyrie game winner. He's just like, what can you do? And is, not happy, obviously he lost the game, but he respects the game. And then I mean the reason I think this climbed my list is the hand, Kyrie looking at his hand. And I sent you that artwork that somebody had
Mhm.
made from it, and I was like, that is so cool. If Kyrie was not a super controversial figure, I would think about getting it. But until then, but no, it's a great moment. Yeah, Mavs Nuggets, you know, could have been a Western Conference Finals matchup. Two really good teams late in the season, like you mentioned. And just like a great shot at home, so the environment is crazy when he makes it, of course. So yeah, that's what I had at number two.
Yeah, great moment. Definitely up there with like some of Kyrie Irving's like best moments for sure.
And my number one. You
Yes.
have no idea what this is, by the way. You have no clue.
I know I don't. Tell me.
And it's a couple things put together, and it's the best part of this, maybe the best part of this season for me.
Okay.
Let me set the groundwork though. It's Wolves Warriors tied a minute into the game. Jaden McDaniels and Klay Thompson get into an altercation where they're pulling each other's jerseys. Rudy Gobert comes in to try to get Klay away, and Draymond Green puts him in a headlock. And Rudy Gobert throws his arms up like, "No, I surrender. I'm done." Draymond Green sitting there putting him in a headlock. He, of course, gets a flagrant two, he gets ejected, suspended 5 games. Part two of this, okay, less than a month later, the Warriors are up by 5 on the Suns with 8.5 minutes left in the third quarter. While backing down Yusuf Nurkic, Draymond turns around and just backhands him across the face, and gets suspended for an indefinite amount of time. It ends up being 12 games for the Warriors. And of course, my favorite part of all of this, in the post-game press conference, Yusuf Nurkic says, "That brother needs help." And that is my number one moment of the 2024 NBA season.
And an extension of that moment, you can say when the Suns were about to get swept, Draymond tweeted, "That brother needs help."
Yep. I mean,
Dude, dude,
the entertainment value, it skyrockets for me.
sky high, man. Oh my God. I totally didn't think about that. Like I was after you talked about the headlock, I was like, he's gotta talk about the Nurkic like spin around like wrestling hit across the head. Because what I love about that play is that he doesn't even have the ball.
He doesn't
It's
have
an
the ball.
inbound. It's an inbounding play, and he's just back. He's like trying to get more space. Like Nurkic is giving it to him. It's like, what are you doing? Oh my God, that's a perfect number one. I love that.
That's my
Thank you for
number one.
that,
Lookout World. What about you?
dude.
What is your number one moment of the season?
I love that you have 2.5 pages, and half of it is just moments that no like are just like that are just so funny and like good. They're just
They're
so
just good little.
fun
I mean, I don't want to just copy and paste the top 10 list of every YouTube video.
for
I'm going
sure.
to come with my own.
Yeah, no, that was I love that. Your research was done very well. My number one has been mentioned already.
Okay.
And it is the bias showing Anthony Edwards block against the Pacers.
Yeah.
And to me, it also like how I was talking about the dunk, the poster that you had on John Collins, kind of was that transition into superstardom. This was the defining moment I saw when Anthony Edwards, like this is a totally different player than I saw his rookie year. Somebody who would, if this was the same thing happened rookie year, he would not even run back for defense. Like he would show no effort, basically.
Hmm.
And this is a guy who misses a free throw, is and takes responsibility for it. He's like, I can't believe I did that. I need to make sure we don't go to overtime. Like this is not on my team. This is on me. Makes it all the way back. And Aaron Neesmith has a really good like shot at it.
Oh
Like
yeah.
it's like
He's right
he's
there at the
gonna get
basket.
fouled, he's gonna get the layup in and one. And it's a beautiful block that and he hits his head, falls down, doesn't care. They win the game. That's all he cares about. I get chills thinking about it.
Yeah,
Because that is
it's
just
great to watch.
to me, like you win basketball games with defense.
Hmm.
And that was just like I love that transition from a player I didn't really even like his rookie year or anything. Like I've talked about it with you. Like I don't like it when they seem arrogant. They're not even trying. LaMelo Ball is a perfect example. Same draft class. Like he could be something so great, but he just is like I'm just gonna run over kids with my car, and break their feet. You know, yeah, he chooses that, and Anthony Edwards like I'm gonna be the best defender on this team, even though Gobert's there. He's like I'm gonna be a good defender too,
Right.
and EJ McDaniel's there. He's like I'm gonna get this stop, and he goes and he does it. So much respect to that. To me, that's the moment that sticks with me the most this season. Although the Draymond Green headlock is gonna be up there.
It's an
Sure.
iconic one for sure. Will go down in
Iconic.
NBA record books.
Absolutely. All right. That's our top 10 moments. I love
There you go,
that. Those were
guys.
good. I love that. I was a little worried they might be too much of the same, but I
Yeah,
like
we
that. It
had some
was
different
like
ones here and there.
three or four that were kind of the same and then everything different. Um, so now we transition into our favorite playoff moments.
Yes. Is it
Cool.
who
Uh,
starts?
you start because I started the last one.
Okay, I'll start with number 10 here. So this one, I couldn't really narrow my list down enough, honestly. So I just combined 10 things into this, or not 10 things, I'm sorry, a couple things into my number 10 spot.
Okay, for sure.
Um, and it's really just highlighting a couple players, because it was not a moment specifically for these players. It was more of what they did in the duration of their time in the playoffs.
Okay.
And for me, that was three guys I wanted to shout out. Josh Hart is one of those guys playing back-to-back games consecutively, averaging 43 minutes a game in the playoffs in general, just and constantly just hustling, playing defense, making a lot of threes, which he doesn't typically do. Just a great playoffs for Josh Hart, so I wanted to shout that out. He was awesome. Number the second guy I wanted to shout out, Nas Reed, and the couple of explosion of points he had off the bench against the Nuggets specifically in that series was awesome. And the whole Nas Reed tattoo thing, like that's kind of a moment in itself. And then the last guy, Daniel Gafford, and the passion when he plays defense and was blocking people and just screaming and like sitting on the ground. Like those three guys, I kind of wanted to toss something in there for all of them, but I couldn't really figure out what specific moments. So I just wanted to shout out those three, kind of like an honorable mention, but also like sliding into my 10 slot here.
Absolutely. Those guys really showed what they're made of this playoffs. I'm very like it's so Josh Hart was a guy, he's been on a couple different teams, Pelicans, Lakers, Pelicans, Blazers, Knicks, and he really has finally found a home, it seems like with the Knicks. And he's like he was he's been a good role player, but for whatever reason it's just become like a trade piece. But now, he's with other like Villanova Wildcats and stuff, in the New York. I'm so glad you shouted him out because it's unfortunate. I don't really have any Knicks stuff on here.
Yeah.
But I did really have a really great run. It's just unfortunate with all the injury stuff. Nas Reed, I mean, what more can I say? I would have gotten a tattoo if I was there,
Right.
100%. And Daniel Gafford, I mean, that passion, we love that. And on defense, and obviously
Yeah.
I love that. So, um,
I like defense
and,
on this
and
podcast.
absolutely. And also a player that no one really knew or talk like who was talking about Daniel Gafford when he was on the Warriors. Oh, sorry, the Wizards. The only thing that talked about him was when KD crossed him over and he
Oh
like
yeah.
slipped
That
and
was
like
rough.
fell into like oblivion. Like that's the only thing I can think of him on the Wizards. And then he comes to Mavericks and makes an instant impact.
Bulls
I love
legend
it.
Daniel Gafford.
I never even knew it on the Bulls.
That's where he started his career. Second round draft pick.
Wow, that's cool. That's actually really cool. But I love your number 10. That's great. Is it then
Uh,
I do number 10 and 9 and then you do
yeah,
9
yeah,
and
yeah.
8? Okay, cool, cool, cool. My number 10 um is it's a moment. It's not really NBA, it's not basketball. It's basketball related, but it's not basketball.
Okay.
It is uh Mavericks Clippers. I believe it was game 3 or 4. PJ Washington, Terrence Mann kind of getting into it. Russell Westbrook also getting involved.
Mm,
And PJ Washington standing his ground and crossing his arms.
that's a great moment. I'm
Just
so
looking
glad you have
smug and
that.
he's like, I'm not moving. Um,
I wish
loving
I
it,
even thought about that. That's a great one.
dude. Dude, it was number 10. Like it almost didn't make it, but I was like, there's no way I'm not mentioning that
Yeah,
moment in
the
this.
standing with the no
Yeah.
looking. Yeah, that's a
And I
great
mean, and in extension, like Paul George doing it, I think that was game 3 because Mavericks went up 2-1.
one. Hmm.
And then Paul George does a game 4 and it goes 2-2. So an extension, like kind of rivalry. I mean, Mavericks Clippers have seen each other 3 times in the last 5 years in the playoffs. So um, that in of it itself, there's a kind of like emotion within it. So just PJ Washington doing that's like iconic. Like that's
Yeah,
something that will stick with me. So that's my
yeah,
number 10.
that's a good one.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Number 9 is again nothing that it's not like I was rooting for this team by any means, but it's Peyton Pritchard's 3 going into halftime for game 5.
Mm.
I mean, talk about insult to injury. I
Yeah,
mean, they're
that's a good
already
one.
up by like 16. He sinks it, they go up by 19, something like that. It is just like it was unnecessary. So,
Yeah,
um, young player that it's not the first time he made like a half court shot in the playoffs either. So, that was just a moment also in of
yeah,
itself that I thought was pretty
yeah.
incredible.
I think both Peyton Pritchard things can be thrown into like just Peyton Pritchard hitting half court shots. It's like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's probably the
its
number
own
9.
little
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just kind of like the
I
thing
get
in
it.
itself. Yeah. All right. Number
That's
9.
that's good. That's good. I like it. My number 9. Let's see. Oh yeah, this was kind of a silly moment. Um, but it was I couldn't leave it off my list. Wolves are up by 2 against the Nuggets. 8 minutes left to go in Game 7 into the second round. Rudy Gobert hits a turnaround post fade over Nikola Jokic. Just a crazy shot that should have went into the shot clock, and he acted like nothing happened. And of course, the Wolves, they go on to win this game and win the series. And I mean, this is one of the points down the stretch, So it was just one of the things when I watched, I was literally in awe. I was like, how did I like what did I just watch happen on the screen? So
One of my favorite parts about that moment too is at the press conference after the game, after the Timberwolves win. Anthony Edwards is asked, when did the momentum change? When did it become, did you feel like you were gonna like be able to win this game? And he
yeah.
said, when Rudy made that turnaround jumper, like why is he out there hooping like Jokic? It was like it was so over Jokic. It was so funny. And I was also the same as you. I was outside watching the game on my phone, talking with my band,
Yeah.
and I was kind of listening, but I was watching the game. I saw that and I was like, huh, what just happened?
uh,
I could not believe it. I love that. That's a great number nine.
yeah.
What's your number eight?
My number eight, Pacers and Bucks tied with 7 seconds left to go in game three. Tyrese Halliburton gets the ball in the backcourt, crosses over Patrick Beverly, hits an and one floater over Andre Jackson Jr. To win the game. And this, of course, was after Chris Middleton originally hit a three to send it into overtime, and then he hit another three to tie the game right before this possession. So just a back and forth game between the Bucks and Pacers, and this is still in the series was close, 1-1. This big advantage in the series here over game three. The play itself, I don't think was like I don't think the floater itself was like that impressive, but like they end up winning the series, winning the second round, going to the conference finals. So it does have kind of a long term impact, I think, for their franchise in that way. But just a great moment, I think.
Absolutely. Love that was definitely on my list. I'm gonna spoil. I don't have it on mine, but I had all of those moments, the Chris Middleton three, the floater, and yeah, just kind of putting it all in one makes
Yeah,
sense. Like game three, Pacers Bucks was so good. And also we can in an extension, we were right before we potted, we were watching that game. And then
yeah,
we
yeah, yeah.
talked that we like live reacted to it basically.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Uh which was fun. So that's a good moment as well.
What
My
is
number
your
eight.
number eight? Yeah.
My number eight. One of my favorite young players coming to play, Tyrese Maxey,
Okay.
taking over game five. Embiid is out with the injury, and he is this was against the Knicks.
Yeah.
And the series had a lot of there was some controversy with the
Right.
end of game two, which was also on my list of moments that I cut because it was a lot of fouls. So I was like, I don't know
Yeah.
if that should count as a moment. But I just loved that Tyrese Maxey wasn't afraid of the moment. They were down five with like a minute left, and he just comes up the court, sinks a three at the logo to cut it to two. They
Hmm.
get a stop. He comes back, makes a layup, ties it, and they end up winning the game. It's a young player that is not giving up when hope isn't there. And pretty sure it was in New York, if I'm not
It
mistaken.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, also like what a show of just like, resolute attitude that you're in Madison Square Garden. Not easy to play there. Obviously,
Sure.
watching the playoffs, it was just crazy. That could be its own highlight, just the crazy crowd in Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, just
Um,
just Ben Stiller and John Stewart's faces
Yeah,
in
literally
Madison Square
just
Garden.
sitting there going crazy. But and Spike Lee, come on, you gotta talk about Spike Lee. Oh, and also
Spike Lee's been there for years, man.
Latrell Sprewell,
Oh
come
yeah,
on, the
Walt
go. And
Frazier.
then Walt Frazier wearing the no nothing hat, which is just the red hat or an orange hat.
Yeah,
So
he
funny to
he
me.
didn't really want to be associated.
Yeah, I love that. He's like, I wear no brands. Um, but yeah, Tyrese
That's a good
Maxey
choice. I like it.
take over game five. Yeah, I love that for a young player just doing that.
Yeah.
And then my number seven, another young player. Um, it wasn't a game winner, but it resulted in a win. Andrew Nimhart, his three versus the Knicks, game three.
Hmm.
Um, it was a broken play. He was on the wing, and the time was running out, and he just
Hmm.
kind of backpedaled, and then just threw up a three, and he made it. And he was like, smile. He's like he couldn't believe it because it's not
Yeah.
his shot at all. So that was just a great moment for a young player for me. He has a lot of good moments in the playoffs, so I thought that was his like defining moment for sure.
Yeah, I was rewatching the conference finals, and they really barely lost like three of those games. They were like so close to winning all of them, and they got swept. It's crazy. Um,
Oh
but
wait, well this was against the Knicks, so
yeah,
this
yeah, yeah,
wasn't
I know, I
Celtics.
know. I was talking about
Oh,
the.
but just yeah,
I just
period.
meant
Yeah,
in
yeah,
terms of his playoff moments. Like he was
yeah,
doing
yeah.
good in that
No,
series too.
dude, he was
Um,
he was playing so well.
I
Yeah.
can't react to this too much because I have to talk about it later.
Okay.
Uh, but for me, my number seven, not really a moment per se, really a stat thing that I thought really caught my attention. I was going back and doing my research. But in 9.5 minutes in the fourth quarter, Anthony Edwards shot 6 of 7 from the field to score 16 points in the quarter against the Suns, including a monstrous dunk over Kevin Durant and two blocks on the other end to close out the series in game four. Um, I didn't, I guess I don't know if I didn't realize it happened at the time or I just don't remember, but I didn't realize he had such a dominant performance. And it was a really close game. I was watching the highlights of game four again, down the stretch, and he kind of was just took over, um, the end of the game and ended up, getting the sweep done in Phoenix. And I just thought that was very impressive, kind of his first playoffs as the number one guy that he did that.
Absolutely. And I mean, you always got. I also got to mention the game four, the Triple H,
Yeah.
the Triple H suck it that he did also at the end of that game.
Yeah.
Fun. We love arrogance.
Uh,
I'm kidding. That was probably one of the more regretful parts, but no, that's crazy. I didn't realize that either, that he was so efficient at the end of that game. That's crazy.
yeah, I mean, it was a lot of tough shots, post fades and things like that.
Yeah,
But yeah, a great performance from him to close that series out.
yeah. Am I now me
And,
six, right? 'Cause yeah.
or is it me six? No, it's
Was
me.
that your? Oh
Yeah,
yeah. What's your six?
that was the first one I did. Yeah.
Okay, tell me. What's number
Um,
six?
Number six for me, this is the Mavericks being down by two against the Timberwolves in game two of the conference finals. Luka gets the ball on an inbound pass with Jaden McDaniels on him. Derek Lively comes up for a screen. They get the switch. He has Rudy Gobert on him. Hits the step back three over Rudy Gobert and then just lets him have it, just screams at him. The game's not over. I think there's like 1 second exactly left. But he, was just yelling at him, and they took the lead by one. And of course, they did end up winning the game. But just a great, shot from Luka. He had a great game. He had a great playoff run in general. But yeah, this definitely ended up, a top 10 moment for me. As much as I think we both ended up rooting for the Wolves that series, this this shot was just a great shot, so I had to have it on here.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that shot. It's incredible, especially with the DPOY. You can kind of look at the narratives around that, and like Luca getting snubbed MVP. I think so. Um, just like that in of itself is such a moment too. So crazy shot, such a good shot.
Yeah.
Typical Luca though, Luca magic. Number six is a moment that actually like made my heart sink. But damn, it was undeniably a good moment. And I'm of course talking about the Celtics winning game one versus the Pacers, which was basically a lock
Mm.
for the Pacers until
Oh,
Eastern Conference Finals MVP Jaylen Brown sinks a three in from the corner to send it to overtime. I thought that was just an incredible shot. And that really set the tone, I think, for that series. Like you mentioned earlier, the Pacers had most of these games in the bag, and the Celtics team last year or years prior would choke. And they even choked earlier this season, like in that Cavaliers game with
yeah,
Dean Wade that we talked about.
the
And they just
legend.
showed a resoluteness that eventually ended in a championship. So I think that was like at least the start for me. Like I was not that I didn't take it seriously because Celtics are a better team than the Pacers. I'm not crazy. But just seeing how much they didn't give up, especially when it seemed like so hopeless, I thought that deserved being shouted out. So that's why I have it as number six.
Yeah.
But no more Celtics moments for me. Just letting
Uh,
you know.
yeah, I gotta say, I didn't have any success moments at all, which is
Yeah.
kind of crazy. Kind of, it's like it. I guess it could be interpreted as like me hating the Celtics, but I also think a lot of their games are just like kind of blowouts. And
Yeah, and they're a little boring. Like I get it. Yeah, exactly. Like I get it. It's moments are things that you remember, right? So it's like I remember that not for the good reason. I remember it because it made me feel terrible. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like same as the Peyton Pritchard stuff. I was like, oh my God, are you
I
serious? He's
did think
thinking,
about shouting out Drew Holiday for stripping Andrew Nimhard in one of those
yeah,
games, as well as when he forced Tyrese Halliburton to dribble out of bounds. He did a couple of those like really critical defensive sessions. Just had a great playoffs in general, but
yeah.
yeah, there wasn't like a moment, I guess. And I mean, we literally talked about the Celtics dominance like all last episode that we recorded. So
Yeah, so yeah, that steal was in my on my list, but I
your
didn't
long
add it
list,
at
yeah,
the end. Yeah. But number five
yeah.
is another one that just you literally just put a knife in my gut and just twisted it around, and I know exactly, you know exactly what I'm going to be talking about. It's the Jamal Murray buzzer beater
Oh,
against the Lakers. Especially when you
yeah.
look at this game, it was Lakers were winning this whole game. It was in the bag. I stopped watching it. I was out, like I think I got dinner and I went to a show and I was like, I wasn't even worrying about it. Looking at the score, I was like, oh, we got the lead, whatever. I come out of this game and I see the show and we lose by one or two, no, it was two because it was tied.
Yeah.
And I was like, what happened? And oh my God, the Nuggets coming back. I think they were down by like 16 going into the fourth quarter. They came back. They won. Obviously, everyone knows the Jamal Murray buzzer beater. And also, I do have to say, also, what I think is crazy about this moment, he's on the ground. Everyone dogpiles him.
Yeah.
You know who's also there? Anthony Davis, because he falls on him and he's just stuck in the bench. And I mean, as much as like
Uh,
that hurts my heart. I mean, it's a really good moment, and I can't not mention it when talking about the playoffs
yeah.
this year. So, um, that's my number five.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, definitely big moments you mentioned there. My number five is something you had mentioned already. Pacers and Knicks tied with 20 seconds left to go. Tyrese loses his kind of dribble and just throws it to Nembhard for a bailout, and he hits the step back, long, almost half court three. And he can't, like you said, he can't believe it. Halliburton can't believe it. He's like, what? He's like looking around, like, what just happened? Um, and yeah, they end up, going up, or they were going to go down 3-0 if they didn't win this game.
Yeah,
So it was like a must-win scenario for sure. And then, of course, they end up coming back and winning the series. So definitely had to have that on there. And then my number four moment, Nuggets Lakers tie game, 15 seconds to go. LeBron misses an open three that would have put him up by three right before this. Nuggets didn't take a timeout; they just went the other way. Jamal Murray gets the right wing post, not even a post fade, just a fadeaway jumper over Anthony Davis, right at the buzzer. And then yeah, I have in a little sub note. Anthony Davis falls into the seats on the bench in a funny way. So, yeah, it's like it looks like he's like one of those things you would clip out and like put it into another video, like
oh
where
my,
he's
yeah, literally,
he's
yeah, oh
moving.
my God.
And then yeah, KCP rescues him from from the bench, which is good because he definitely could have got injured with the way they're dogpiling over there.
I didn't notice that. That's nice. They have they know each other, so
Yeah.
that's nice to see that.
Um. So yeah, two
Um,
things we already touched up on, but definitely big moments this playoffs for sure.
that is so funny to me. Um, I'm glad. I think we might have some more overlap coming up.
Yeah, probably.
Number four, what I have is the you mentioned game four against the Suns.
Yeah.
I think this happened game three. Anthony Edwards making a shot over Kevin Durant, backpedaling. They're both smiling because they're just sort of like, it's his idol.
Right.
He's like basically about to go 3-0 over his idol. Kevin Durant's laughing just because, they're both trash talking the whole game. And, that's a moment that, a lot of people talked about. And I think, I know it meant a lot to Anthony Edwards. So that was just like kind of like finding the humor in defeat for Kevin Durant and finding, that, uh, just having fun. Like
Yeah.
at the end of the day, basketball, like it needs to be fun. So, just them finding the fun and in the madness of getting swept. And the whole like KD Anthony Edwards in that first round was just so entertaining and
Yeah.
nice to see. And obviously very much mutual respect between the two. Um, so of course I had to put that on here. So that's
Yeah.
my number 4
No, that's a good
for me.
choice. I hear
Um,
you number 3.
my number 3, um, it's related.
Okay.
It is, and it's something you kind of mentioned earlier. It is the ending of Timberwolves Nuggets game 7.
Mm,
So not really a moment, but this whole. So I have all of these things. Gobert doing the turnaround jumper.
yeah.
Then I have the putback by Naz Reid.
The
I
putback
have
was
the
crazy.
the putback by Cat.
That also
Uh,
was
and
crazy.
then and then also Anthony Edwards transition 3 to put them up
Mm,
by like 7 with
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
a minute left. Like all of that all together, this game is a knockdown drag out. I mean, I think the final score was like 99-95. Like it was
Yeah.
pretty low scoring. It was very like hard fought on both sides, but Timberwolves just pulled away, and it just really showed the resolve of players like Naz Reid, Karl Anthony Towns, and Anthony Edwards. Game 7 in Denver.
Oh yeah.
And this is a series. It was
A-
2-0.
Against the
Timberwolves
defending
like,
champions.
yeah, and Nuggets, everyone was like the Nuggets are going to get swept. They're going to sweep the Nuggets too. And then the Nuggets come back, go up 3-2, and Timberwolves end up winning in 7. It's just that whole series was so good.
Mm.
Um and that game 7 was just the pinnacle, obviously. And then for me, like I mentioned, I was just like, I'll never forget where I was watching that game. You know what I mean? Like surrounded
Mhm.
by my band and like trying to explain to them how crazy this was.
You don't
And
understand what's going on.
they're like Denver and Minnesota. Who even are people even fans of these two teams? And I was like, you don't get it, you don't get it. So that was just, really fun for me. So that's why I have that as my number 3.
That's a good choice.
Yeah. What's your number 3?
Yeah. This is something that you mentioned as well. Wolves are up 13 against the Suns. 45 seconds left in game 1, actually, to correct something you said. But
Thank
Anthony
you.
Edwards crosses up Kevin Durant, hits a 3 over them, and then you have the smiling moment when they're backpedaling down the court. I mean, just a great moment. Just rewatching it today, I was like, wow, this really was like a changing of the guard kind of moment here. This was crazy. Yeah. Um, awesome. Not much more to say. Of course, the series they went on and swept them. Um, but yeah, it was just like an iconic moment. Great photos in Minnesota. The crowd was going crazy after he hit the 3. Um, yeah, a lot of Anthony Edwards on this list.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
then for my number 2, I have something you also have mentioned. Sixers down 6 against the Knicks. 30 seconds left in the game. Tyrese Maxey hits, and this is game 5, hits a 4-point play um, onto the left wing to bring it within 2. Josh Hart gets fouled, goes 1 of 2 from the free throw line, and then Maxey pulls up a logo 3 onto the double stacked New York, which grew on me over the season, to send the game into overtime. And there was like 8 seconds left on the clock. He did it. The commentators were talking about it. He did it so he wouldn't get fouled. Because they were down 3, so he like had to get the shot off before they just fouled him. So there's still like 8 seconds left. The Knicks end up not scoring. Sixers go on to win the game in overtime. Um, a big controversial series overall, like you were talking about earlier, but this was like a huge game. He had like 41 points, and as soon as he made that second 3, he turned around and was like screaming at the bench and screaming at the crowd. And he's never that guy, so it was nice to see the passion kind of flow out through him. He just had an awesome game, and it was like an awesome game to watch. And I was glad that, like you mentioned earlier, he had that moment for him in the playoffs, and I think it'll help now, in the future for these playoff Sixer teams. So.
Absolutely. I love it. I'm glad you had all those details because I couldn't all I had, I remembered a lot, but not exactly the exact flow of events. And also I forgot I went to overtime and they won.
Yeah,
I mean, that's even crazier. So yeah, I'm glad you had that as your number
hitting a
2.
4-point play than another 3 is crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah. Um, all right. My number 2.
Yeah,
is something you already mentioned.
of course.
This is the Luka Doncic 3 over Rudy Gobert
Oh yeah,
at the end of game 2. I believe that was game 2.
yeah. I think
Yeah.
so. I had it on
Um,
here.
yeah, I mean, obviously, like I mentioned when you mentioned it, just the narrative behind DPOY, and then a runner up to MVP, I guess third in MVP voting, and
Yeah,
just not afraid of the moment, Luka Doncic, and the passion that you kind of mentioned too. It's just such an iconic moment, sticks with me. So that's
yeah.
why I have it number 2. Number 1, I have a feeling we have the
I
exact
think we have the
same
same.
number
I
one.
think we have the same moment. Yeah, I think so.
And I can't say I'm happy about it, but it was so freaking awesome. It was such a awesome, I'm gonna say it, such a fucking awesome moment. And like I love just watching the motion. Jamal Murray's 3 from half court to put them up, like it's against the Lakers, so I shouldn't be happy. But like put the Nuggets up going into halftime by like
It
17
was
or
it was
something.
not against the Lakers. It was against the Wolves.
Still, I shouldn't be happy about it. Against the Timberwolves, and Kevin Harlan standing like on and commentating, staring at Jamal Murray, and they both stare down each other. Like that is, you could say more about it because I'm sure you have the exact kind of like way it kind of went around and
Oh, I
everything.
do.
But that moment, hey, take it away, Damon. Take away number 1 moment for me.
Yeah, so the Nuggets, this is game 4, I believe. They're up 10 against the Wolves in Minnesota, of course, after losing both in Denver. There's 6 seconds left in the first half at this point. Anthony Edwards turns the ball over, and Jokic throws it up to Michael Porter Jr. for an easy dunk. So now they're up 12. Nikhil Alexander-Walker tries to throw the ball down to Jaden McDaniels. It goes past him into Jamal Murray's hands with like 2 seconds left, and he just heaves this shot from beyond half court. Nothing but net. Now they're up 15, and like you mentioned, the moment itself is Kevin Harlan like up from his chair, like and Jamal Murray's just like looking at him, just doing his like mean mugging thing that he likes to do. And just an iconic image, and just really, shifted the momentum of this game. Of course, they end up losing the series, but this moment itself, was just awesome. Like it was just one of the greatest things I've watched live, I think.
Absolutely. And just that, I didn't even think about it, the connection of what's happening on the court with the commentators, with someone who usually doesn't interact with players at all.
Yeah,
Like that is such a singular moment. Like how many other times do players interact with commentators in games? Never really.
yeah,
So it's just so individual. Like it is so unique. Like that does not happen. People don't make threes at half court and then look at whoever is commentating the game. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So that in of itself was just so iconic. And like we said, we weren't rooting for the Nuggets, but we know greatness when we see it. And that was the number 1 moment of the playoffs. Well, what a great moment to end it on. We both
Yeah.
had the same one. I
We,
love
we
that.
didn't have a
That's
ton of
crazy.
overlap in terms of our positioning, but
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah, we had the same number one moment. Originally, I had the Tyrese Maxey thing at number one. And I was like, actually, I think the Jamal Murray thing is just so good that I have to put it.
I had the Anthony Edwards backpedaling, but I remembered it wasn't like the game 4. It wasn't like the deciding thing. So
Right.
like the stakes weren't that high. So that's why I didn't have it a little bit higher. And granted, the Jamal Murray, Kevin Harlan thing, it's stakes weren't high, but it was a momentum shifter and um just something just so fun to watch
Yeah.
and just over again. Yeah. It doesn't matter who you're rooting for in that moment. In that moment, you're just a fan of the game. So that's what I love.
I should mention I tried to get Shea on here for that game 4 comeback against the Mavericks where he just like carried in the fourth quarter. That didn't end
Hmm.
up making my list. But I worthy of mentioning the number one seed probably. And yeah, there's a couple teams we didn't really talk about, but a lot of playoff moments, like you mentioned before we started potting. You had like almost 30, and you had
Yeah.
to really whittle down your list here. So
Yeah, I whittled it down to 20 and I still have 20. I mean, uh honestly, obviously, one of my favorites. I could probably roll this into what I had for number 3, which was the ending of Nuggets Wolves Game 7. My
Mhm.
dog, you already know what it
Yeah,
is.
I
It's that.
thought when you mentioned earlier the other what did you mention for number 10? I already forgot.
Well, my number 10 was PJ Washington crossing his
Oh.
arms.
Yeah, when you mentioned that, I thought my dog, you already know what it is, would be in here somewhere too.
Oh,
Because
yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
like, oh, that's good. I didn't think about like I didn't really think. I guess I went funny for the regular season, but for the playoffs, I was like, what were the best players? I don't know.
Yeah.
I
No,
should have got some more
yeah.
funny in here though.
No, I think what was nice is we kind of flipped. Like we weren't both focusing on like what was memorable funny and then what was memorable like, for the game. It was a good. I'm glad that we don't really communicate too much about it until we come on here.
Yeah,
I think that's really fun.
save it for the pod.
Um,
Put it on the shirt.
Save for the pod, literally. But yeah, I should have mentioned that because I was trying to add all those things together. Um, yeah, and I mean, honestly, I have more Anthony Edwards moments, but you know what I mean? Obviously the bias is there. So, yeah, that was I mean, thinking about it, like this was such a cool season. I really wish it maybe would have ended on a more, I don't say miraculous note, I guess, because I feel like the season seemed so unique. We had the Thunder as the first seed, and it just ended with the Celtics winning. I mean, it was so like
In
no one
like
cares
in
anymore.
like a
It just kind of
not
like,
like exciting way. It was
yeah, it really like was like it was like the finals series compared to the other, like just talking about these moments, like
Mhm.
there was so much. I mean, all those we had like 4 game 7s in this playoffs. Like you're lucky if you get one. You know, we
Mhm.
had Cavaliers Magic, we had Knicks Pacers, Nuggets Timberwolves, like, a lot of like really good competitive series. So it was just a great year for basketball.
For sure. I'm happy with our list. I hope the listener is happy with our list. If you're unfamiliar with any of these, definitely look them up. I mean, some great NBA moments to watch for sure if you missed out on last season. Because I know some people, maybe they're just tuning in now to get ready for next season, but these are some things you can look up and be like, oh, okay, this is what happened last season. Got it. And yeah, a lot of good moments I think we brought up here today. Yeah, like you mentioned, a lot happened this season, a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff that even slipped your brain and my brain
Yeah.
too.
It's
So
just so much, so much, and better to have more than less. So big fan of that. But yeah, so this will be out in the world in the future. So when this comes
yeah,
out,
like
this will be the
3 weeks
present.
from now,
Yeah,
it'll be a
from this
while.
moment. Yeah, it's July 1st right now. I guess we could just say
Yeah,
that.
it's
So
July 1st. That's when this recording was made. Happy 4th of July, 3 weeks later.
happy for that. Be safe out there. I hope
4th of
you were
July
safe out
might
there.
might be my least favorite like big holiday.
There's not
Like
really.
who cares?
Okay, I will say LA goes crazy because the fireworks in the city
I don't
are
even care about
bananas.
fireworks.
No, I know you don't. But I just love like spectacle, and the
Sure.
spectacle is crazy. It is crazy here. They love that
It's
here.
like, if you want to throw like the Memorial Days and Labor Days of the world, like those are really not important. But like,
Yeah,
uh,
but I love that at least on a Monday, like I have a 3-day weekend. Now I have a day off
that's fair.
Thursday, and then I have to go to work Friday. So it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
so I get how the 4th of July thing is a bit.
4th of July, it does feel like a major one though, right? Like Thanksgiving,
It should
Halloween,
be.
Christmas. Like it feels like it's on that level. So I
It should
feel
be.
like out of the
Yeah.
holidays on that level, it's like the worst one. Like,
Yeah. I get it. It's also like in the middle of the summer, like it's really hot.
yeah,
Now we're just talking about holidays. So
this is what the listeners want.
yeah, it's obviously what they all want. But I just want to say to the listeners, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this pre-recorded episode. We might do these more in the future if we're traveling or anything like that, and we want to stay up to date. But thank you for listening. Damon's going to do a
It's
shot.
easy in the off season.
Uh,
We just
yeah,
recap something. There's no news or anything.
yeah,
I
I
mean, there
love.
has been a lot of free agency news, but we're gonna have a whole podcast about that comes out way before this one. So
Yeah, exactly. So he's going to do the shot real quick.
trying to
Lining it up.
calculate here. This is tough.
I believe in you. Channel Tyrese
No, I
Maxey.
hit the ceiling.
Okay,
Oops.
okay.
Or maybe my fan. I'm not sure.
Oh, there's a fan. I can't even see there's a fan.
Yeah,
So
there's a fan. It's a little tougher in this room. My ceilings are definitely not as tall as the previous place. So
gotcha,
I'm still
gotcha.
adjusting. I don't practice. I only come here and do it live in the pod. I'm not getting the work in like I should be.
It's all right. We forgive you as listeners.
I should
But once
just be in my free time.
get thrown in the back.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, thank you for listening. Really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed our favorite moments from the season and the playoffs. And this has been Two Man Game with Damon and Dom.
Buckets.